Imagine this. You've spent your whole life working, raising a family, building a career. Now, finally, you have the time, the freedom, and hopefully the resources to explore the world the way you've always dreamed. Traveling after 70 should be a reward, a celebration of everything you've accomplished. And yet, beneath the excitement, there are hidden risks that many don't see until they're facing them firsthand. We don't talk about these risks enough. We assume that because we've traveled before, we know what to expect. But the reality is, travel at 70 is not the same as travel at 30, 40, or even 60. The body responds differently. Challenges become greater, and small inconveniences can turn into major obstacles if we're not prepared. The world doesn't change to accommodate us. We have to adapt to it. This isn't about fear. It's not about telling you to stop traveling. It's about awareness. Because when you know what to expect, when you understand the risks, you can make better decisions. You can travel smarter, safer, and with the confidence that you're ready for whatever comes your way. So today we're going to talk about 5 hidden dangers of traveling after 70 that every senior must know before their next trip. Some of these might surprise you. Some might challenge the way you think about travel. But all of them will help you be more prepared for your next adventure. We all love to believe that with age comes wisdom, that we've been around long enough to know how to prepare, how to anticipate, how to be ready for whatever life throws at us. And that's true to a point. But what if I told you that this very belief, this illusion of preparedness, is what makes travel after 70 more dangerous than we realize? Think about the last time you traveled. You packed your bags, maybe even days in advance. You had a checklist. Medication, check. Travel insurance, check. Comfortable walking shoes, check. But here's the real question. Did you prepare for the unknown, or just for the things you assumed would happen? There's a big difference. And it's the things we don't prepare for that tend to cause the most trouble. Let's say you're flying overseas. You get to the airport early, breeze through security, and board your flight feeling confident. But what happens when that confidence is challenged? A delay that turns into an overnight layover, a lost bag that contained all your medication, a sudden health episode mid-flight. These are not just minor inconveniences when you're 70 or older. They can be game changers. I'll give you a real example. A gentleman in his 70s, let's call him Richard, had always been a meticulous planner. He had traveled his entire life. He had seen the world. And so when he planned his trip to Europe, he did what he always did. He booked his tickets, reserved hotels, and made an itinerary down to the hour. But here's what Richard didn't plan for: the impact of a long-haul flight on his circulation, the effect of jet lag on his balance and coordination, the unexpected exhaustion from navigating an unfamiliar city. He thought he was prepared. He thought he had it all under control until he found himself dizzy and disoriented in a crowded subway station, struggling to stay on his feet. His body wasn't responding the way it used to, and that's when the illusion of preparedness shattered. You see, we assume that because we've traveled before, we know how to handle it again. But age changes the game. The strategies that worked when we were younger don't necessarily work now. Our bodies don't bounce back as quickly, our tolerance for discomfort decreases, and our ability to problem solve under pressure isn't as sharp. And yet, we rarely stop to adjust our approach. And then there's technology. If you've traveled recently, you know that the way we navigate the world has changed dramatically. Digital boarding passes, self-check-in kiosks, ride-sharing apps, everything requires a level of tech fluency that many seniors simply haven't had to master. And here's the tricky part. We assume we can figure it out when we need to. But when you're standing at a foreign airport, exhausted from a 10-hour flight, struggling to connect to Wi-Fi just to book a ride to your hotel, that's when the reality sets in. And it's not just technology. It's the way systems operate in different parts of the world. A simple miscalculation, like assuming that pharmacies everywhere operate like they do back home, can be dangerous. Imagine needing a refill of a critical medication, only to discover that it's not available without a local doctor's prescription. Imagine assuming you can communicate in English, only to find yourself in a remote town where no one understands you. Now, does this mean you shouldn't travel? Absolutely not. But it does mean we need to redefine what it means to be prepared. Because real preparedness isn't just about packing the right things. It's about anticipating what could go wrong and having a strategy to deal with it. It's about acknowledging that the way we once traveled may no longer work and adapting accordingly. And perhaps most importantly, it's about recognizing that confidence, while valuable, can also be misleading. Because confidence makes us believe we're immune to the challenges that others face. It makes us underestimate risk. It makes us think that won't happen to me, but it can. And for seniors traveling today, the difference between a great trip and a disastrous one often comes down to how well they've prepared, not just for what they expect, but for what they don't. Traveling after 70 isn't about stopping, it's about adapting. It's about understanding that the way we once moved through the world isn't necessarily the way we should move through it now. But that doesn't mean giving up adventure. It doesn't mean saying no to new experiences. It means being aware, being prepared, and making choices that allow us to enjoy the journey without unnecessary risks. The world is still out there waiting to be explored. But the key to enjoying it isn't just about booking flights and packing bags. It's about traveling smarter. It's about knowing the challenges before they happen so they don't catch you off guard. It's about protecting your health, your safety, and your peace of mind so that every trip is not just a trip, but an experience worth remembering. Because at the end of the day, travel isn't about how far you go, how many places you check off a list, or how much you try to squeeze in. It's about how deeply you experience the world, how well you take care of yourself along the way, and how fully you embrace the journey ahead.